So the early verdict has been rendered on Trevor Bauer's restraining order, the Trevor Bauer story, the embattled current Dodger pitcher. Will he ever wear the Dodger uniform again? That is an open question. Some say it's a shut question. Now, if you've not seen the story, if you don't pay attention and maybe you were doing something and you just didn't catch it, perhaps you missed it. So the woman accusing Trevor Bauer of sexual assault spent the better part of the week here testifying, and her lawyers making the argument that she needed an indefinite restraining order to protect her from Trevor Bauer. And there was some spicy testimony. Spicy hot testimony. The judge, after that, ruled against the woman's request. A judge by the name of Diana Gold Saltman. I'm not familiar with her. But anyway, she denied the accuser's petition for an order of protection. So let us discuss. The question, is this something or nothing in terms of the ongoing investigation? There's a police investigation going on of Trevor Bauer. The answer here, it is not something, it is something massive is what this is. And do not short sell this. Do not soft pedal this. You've got limbo, Snickers, and paper cuts. And we will connect all of these things together. And we're going to make the Baba Ganoush. We're going to make the Baba Ganoush. Now, first of all, Trevor Bauer can feel pretty good at this point, pretty confident that he is not going to be criminally convicted. And it's highly probable that he will not even get charged based on the developments that took place on Thursday. That's how big a deal we believe this is. Bauer's legal team, he paid a lot of money for the top lawyers you can get, and they ran circles in the courtroom, and they were doing a victory lap around. There was a domination situation from what I was able to read about this and following along as much as I can. I was obviously busy the last couple of days moving, but following this story, Trevor Bauer scored a convincing victory, and it corroborates what my thinking was. So obviously that's what I thought based on what I had read of the evidence that was made available, and much of it was made available in the public theater. This has played out in social media worlds and in different things being leaked by each party to try to sully the other party. But let me explain this to you like you're 5 years old, okay? So if the alleged victim's legal team was unable to prove enough evidence to get a restraining order continued on in place, this is a civil situation, how are you going to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Bauer is guilty? Now, based on my legal understanding, it is game, set, and match. It's like the limbo. The bar is not very high. How low can you go? The legal standard in civil court is lower. And if the judge denies this in civil court, there seemingly is no way that there's enough evidence to criminally charge and convict Trevor Bauer. And from what I've been told, it's not exoneration, obviously. I mean, strange things happen all the time. But based on the information that's out there, this is as close to exoneration as you can get. Now, secondly, the word on the street is that this judge went above and beyond just a statement about, hey, I'm not giving you a restraining order, Bauer, there's no reason for it. The words of this female judge who sat there in the courtroom, looked at the evidence, that is going to have legs here. And if you didn't hear that part of it, the judge said if she set limits, meaning the woman accusing Bauer, if she set limits and he exceeded them, this case would be clear. This is from the judge. But Bauer, he did not exceed limits, she said. And the judge determined in her decision here that the injuries this woman had as a result of making whoopee with Trevor Bauer were not the result of anything she told him she objected to. And also the judge ruled that he doesn't pose a threat to her. A restraining order is typically easily given out. I mean, these things are given out on a regular basis. Yes, if you're a woman and you have proof of what happened actually took place, it's kind of like the argument like candy bars, Snicker bars on Halloween. They try to lean on the side of caution, right? So the judge here ruling in this particular case that there was not supporting evidence that Bauer was a threat and that he had violated what the woman wanted here, that there's no reason to have Bauer have the restraining order because he's not likely to contact the accuser again or harm her. That's what the judge ruled. Now, so that is unorthodox. I will agree with you. That is an unorthodox situation. All right, final thought on this. So it's hard to imagine that the district attorney, in this case, the police in Pasadena are investigating, but it's hard to imagine any district attorney would end up wasting time by pressing charges, given that there's enough reasonable doubt, right? Remember, civil versus criminal, this comes up from time to time, that the standard is much lower in civil than it is in criminal. O.J. Simpson was convicted in civil court of killing two people. In a criminal court, he was exonerated in a criminal court. But there's enough reasonable doubt here. You could fly a Boeing 747 Intercontinental through all the reasonable doubt. And so, you've heard the phrase, death by 1,000 paper cuts. Slow and painful. But based on what I've been reading here about this particular case between, and again, it's just the opening salvo. We'll see if we get a second act. But the woman's legal case was torpedoed not by paper cuts, but by her own texting. It was death by thousands and thousands of paper cuts. And that's really I guess it's the lesson, if there is a lesson in this. Like, if you think there was a crime committed, you probably shouldn't text that it wasn't, the way that you give a different version here. Her own messages were her demise, and the judge pointed that out. The judge pointed that fact out. The judge, again, female judge, not some dude. No, it's a female judge. She referenced a text message that the accuser had sent Bauer in which the woman had said, quote, wanted all the pain, in a written exchange. This is from the judge. I'm quoting from the judge's statement. In a written exchange, the petitioner, which is the accuser, said that she wanted all the pain, the judge relaying that message. Those were her words, the judge said. Should respondent, meaning Bauer, have believed her? Now, by no means am I saying that Trevor Bauer is out of the woods. He is not out of the woods because the statute of Major League Baseball is much different than a criminal court. And it's still possible that Bauer would be charged with something, but to be convicted seems far-fetched based on the judge's words, which will and can be used and will be used as a defense to say, hey, listen, this restraining order thing, the judge said, listen, the text message is all laid out right there. But in the court of public opinion, Bauer's buried. Right? He's already been tried. It was trial by social media. He has been convicted. So that part is over. He's already been convicted by the trial of social media. Major League Baseball extending the administrative leave. They have to go week by week. They drag this thing out. Now, the Dodgers, they're riding high right now. They've won 7 in a row. They're closing in on the Gigantes in the National League West. And they're right up there at the top of Major League Baseball. Again, the Dodgers. And they have leaked to their buddies in the media that they don't want Bauer back. This story has made the rounds now that they do not intend to have Bauer. In fact, it's kind of obvious by their actions. You don't need them to leak it to their favorite writers that cover the team, because the reality is that the Dodgers traded for his replacement, Max Scherzer. Now, because of all the injuries, the Dodgers, it's like spring training. Every game here, they're throwing out slop from the bullpen. And they could use Trevor Bauer from a baseball standpoint, but the word is that we're hearing he's not going to pitch for them again, and they don't want anything to do with him. So we are at a fascinating part of the story. We are at a fork in the road, an amazing fork in the road, because if we are right, and there's no guarantee we are right, but if we are right and we're reading the room correctly, and Bauer does not get charged, Major League Baseball has no choice at that moment but to reinstate him. Now, he hasn't been charged with a crime at that moment, and there's no restraining order against him. So what ground would baseball have? I would imagine the union would then step in and say, well, wait a minute, you got to reinstate this guy. And then Bauer, his job is a baseball player. He's going to want to pitch. And he makes a lot of money to do that. There's a ton of money on the line. That's the fork in the road, right? Is how much, if the Dodgers truly do not want this guy to pitch for him again, and this goes the way it's headed, Bauer signed a 3-year deal for $102 million. 3 years. Now keep in mind that he has player options after this season and again after the 2022 season. So it is conceivable that Bauer could bow out of the contract. You think there's a chance on God's green earth that Bauer's going to bail out of that contract after 1 year and say, oh, no, I don't need the last 2 years? No. It is a stone-cold lock that he is not opting out because of the reputation situation. And you can say he deserved it. You can make that argument. But he's going to get paid, but he's not going to get that kind of money on his next contract. So are the Dodgers willing to pay by the time they're done, $100 million? Trevor Bauer made 17 starts as a Dodger. 17 up in this point. Are they willing to cut a check, one of those giant, oversized cartoon checks for $100 million by the time this is all done? It really is a fascinating question. It is a fascinating question. Bauer, we think he will pitch. He is going to pitch again somewhere. And you can say he's an evil person if you want to go down that road, but he's a very good pitcher. And if baseball banned every player that was into some kinky stuff, there would be a lot of players that would all be walking away from baseball. And now keep in mind, I am not Mr. Hanky Panky, but I also believe in the old idiom. I'm serious. I mean, I wish I could wear a burqa to bed. I hate looking at myself. I'm ugly and all that. But these athletes live in a different world, and sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and all that stuff. And it's wild. I mean, this woman admitted she slept with 2 Padre players while working for the Padres on their pep squad. And then worked her way to the Dodgers and all that. So it's a wild. I mean, it's just the whole details on this, the sultry details, craziness. But the idiom, live in glass houses. You shouldn't throw stones. But we'll see. Listen, Bauer's just been destroyed. The photos, but this judge's statements, it went above and beyond. She could have just issued a statement. No, there's not enough. She went into great detail. The judge. About why she did this, and she brought up the text messages. And again, it's death by text message as far as a legal case is concerned.